Peter Yan versus Corey Sandhagen has a byproduct of fallout as it pertains to TJ Dillashaw. What is it? What is it? Here's where you have to look at it. TJ Dillashaw, top of my head, but is 38 years old. He's not getting any younger. TJ sat out for a minute. He came back, I believe, proved himself as number one contender. I don't think that we can debate that right now, considering the guy that he beat is the number one contender and will be fighting for the strap. So I think we proved that TJ is a number one contender. Now, to prove you're a number one contender, guys, in all fairness, puts you in a category with a few other guys that have the exact same argument. But if you can be one of the names of the 2 or 3 or at maximum 4 names that get brought up in the right meeting at the right moment, you could be officially the number one contender. So, what does this mean for TJ? And back up the story if you guys forgot. TJ hurt his knee in the Sandhagen fight and believed he was going to need a surgery, which turned out to be true and is supposedly going to put him out for 6 months. Now, I don't know what kind of surgery it is. I know of meniscus and knees because I went through it, you're looking at 6 weeks. And I know for ACLs or MCLs, you're looking at 8 months. However, we were told 6 months. So just hold that thought. It sounds like something pressing on a guy who's proven he's still at the top of his game and is on a clock. As we all are, but when you get to 38 years old, your finish line is at least closer. So what does it mean? Because whatever happens between Sandhagen and Yan, they're got to draw into Aljo. If Aljo can't be ready by X time, of which I don't know what that is, it's never been stated. There's not even a history, precedent set. There's not. Dominic Cruz was 3.5 years. It was a different deal in this leg and the other leg and then back to this leg, and it was such a terrible story, but he didn't get stripped all the same. We have a meaningful amount of time. But it's very relevant because if Aljo does not get stripped, that pushes TJ out again. If Aljo does get stripped, and either Yan or Sandhagen become the official champion and TJ's coming back at the right time. I mean, right, I realize there's a lot of parts here, guys, and in every single division for every top contender, we could play this same game. This same exact game of, well, if this happens and this happens, versus if this happens and this doesn't happen, we can play the same game for every single guy. I'm just asking you for right now, for a little bit of fun, what does the fight between Yan and Sandhagen mean for TJ? Particularly if you agree with my initial premise that TJ is the number one contender. So let's say you give me that one. Let's say I'm right. Dana comes out and goes, Chael, you got it right. TJ's the number one contender. Okay, great. He'll be the number one contender that doesn't get a fight for the belt. Once you go through all the minutia and you establish yourself as the number one contender in a disputed weight class, which this is going to be after Saturday night, you don't go fight for the belt. The two champions have to come together. We're seeing this at heavyweight right now. I don't think anybody would disagree that Stipe Miocic is the number one contender. And you could have a conversation as to what does Jon Jones mean, but Jon Jones's participation in the sport, let alone the heavyweight class, is nothing more than rumored. Stipe is here. I think we could agree he's the top contender, but he can't fight for the belt because it's a contested belt. You have to work your way through that. So then there's also a number of scenarios where you could see that TJ's free and clear, ready to come back. One of those guys aren't ready. His clock's ticking, not to mention he does this for a living, and he's going to want to have a match. Who do you give him a match against? He's not fighting Aljo or the winner of Yan Sand. Who do you give TJ a match with? Look at the risk he's going to have to take, but at some point he's going to have to take it. Done it before in his career, it'd be nothing new, but imagine being the number one contender officially and not officially fighting for the belt next. It's a tough spot. It's an interesting spot. It requires some strategy, it requires some thought. When TJ's knee is better, TJ needs to be tactical and strategic in revealing that information. TJ does not need to just come forward and say, I've been cleared by the doctors and I'm ready to go. He needs to take a real good look at the landscape. He needs to be very strategic with when does my reveal and my return best serve me? A lot of questions, a lot of thought. But Yan versus Sandhagen doesn't just affect 135 pounds, and it doesn't just affect who's next for Aljo. Aljo is the champion. TJ's the top contender. Two guys are fighting for the interim belt. The weight class has a lot of question marks right now.